All right. So, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I'm Afefe with Touch by Tarot. And you all, I have a serious treat for you today. We are going to be talking with Donna Stellhorn, the practical astrologer. And I absolutely adore Donna. I have learned so much from her. For those of you who know my channel, I hope you do because you're here with us. I have learned as, someone who's been doing tarot now for close to 30 years, just how important astrology is as a component to tarot. And that even in a lot of the more modern decks, I'm sure Donna will agree, there's a lot of symbolism. It's really, really becoming part and parcel. So just having that perspective, I've learned, is really important. And Donna is one of the people that, thank the gods, I discovered one day, on YouTube. And Donna, you have truly taught me so much. I admire your work, and I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. So I need you to clear up something for me. First of all, I went online, did my little research on you. And so I hit one website, Donna, and it said, oh, she's done 16 books. Then I did hit another, and they said, nope, 17 books. Then it got to 18 books. How many books have you written, Donna Stellhorn?
Yes, there's one at the publisher, that's number 18. And then I have another book coming out next year, so that'll be 19.
Amazing, amazing. And the majority of them are around astrology and Chinese astrology, if I got that right?
Yes. For 12 years, I wrote an annual book on Chinese astrology. So, this is the year of the tiger or year of the rat, and then all of the predictions. And so this current year, I did stop that. I hit the 12 years and I said, that's it. So the book coming out will be actually numerology about your house number and how your house number affects your experience in the house. So, yeah. And then it's going to be a general book on Chinese astrology for 2024, but I'm primarily a Western astrologer. I just happened into a niche, and so people know me for that niche.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I absolutely love it. Also, you all, Donna is a fantastic teacher, which you will see if you're not already familiar with her channel. You just look up Donna Stellhorn Astrology. Incredible teacher. The way that you are able to break down, for many of us who are newer to astrology, it's a science. It's complex. There's so many facets, and it can feel a little overwhelming. And you just have the practical astrologer. You just have this really down-to-earth manner. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. A couple of more stats. You've had over 3,000 students in your own online courses. Whoa. Over 43,000 subs on YouTube. You go, girl. And in your spare time, no less, you do stand-up comedy and improv?
Yeah, I stopped doing it, of course, when the pandemic started. So, but yes, I was in an improv troupe and did stand-up comedy. And, just because every once in a while, you want to do something that is really terrifying.
Yeah. Like for me, launching a YouTube channel, I was like, whoa.
Well, I still get shy when I turn on the camera, Oh, yes. And I think it's, sometimes we wait so long to get comfortable, but actually the comfort comes second.
I hear you. But I never would have guessed that. Like every time I'm like, man, she's such a natural with this. Like,
Oh, well, thank you.
And having Aru as your sidekick doesn't hurt,
Yes. It's really great to have a pet that you can say, okay, don't look at me, look at the pet.
Okay. And then when you come back to me, you'll like me even more, right? Okay. So, and LaRue, by the way, for those of you who don't know, that's Donna's cat. Gorgeous kitty. So into some of the questions now that we've done the intro, Donna, one of the things that really fascinates me about your approach is clearly you also teach and have online courses for tarot, which is, my bailiwick.
Yeah.
But it's the way that we talked a little bit about Chinese astrology, Western astrology, tarot. You have all of these various systems that you do refer to in your readings. And I just wanted to know a little bit, if you could talk to us a little bit about how you learn to integrate those things in a way that makes it so understandable, because in and of themselves, tarot is its own system and
Yes.
complex. Western astrology is, and so on. How did you learn to integrate those things in terms of your teaching and your channel?
Well, that is a really interesting question, because as people study things, and one of the things I studied early, which is less popular these days, which is feng shui, is that when people started learning feng shui, they found that the different systems clashed, and they were really struggling with that. And so some of it is there's some sort of like a hierarchy that you yourself can establish to say, this is going to be the most important thing. This is my guiding star. And then if I need some clarification, well, then I can do this secondary system. So, when I'm talking to someone about astrology and we are saying, like, here's where I see you heading, and this is where your career is going, and here are the bumps in the road and all that. And then they say, okay, but where should I have dinner tonight? Okay, I'm going to get the tarot cards for that, And
Right.
so, because we're going to do an either or, much easier to do with that system, right?
Right.
And so I think that the different systems have different uses, but there has to be a hierarchy of like, what are you going to have as your main system?
Right, exactly. Like, and I can relate to that just in terms of like tarot for me, I can do tarot almost with my eyes closed, right? Because that's my comfort zone.
Mhm.
And but astrology, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And I would say, I can feel myself getting stronger with it and stronger with, like,
Mhm.
I understand the houses now.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
ready to interpret anybody's chart yet, but understand the houses and generally what areas of life they cover. But that's been a process, and you're absolutely right. So my go-to is tarot. That's my comfort,
Yes,
you know.
yes,
Um,
yes.
but I understand then there are times that I need to go a little bit deeper,
Mhm.
and and gradually astrology is becoming my thing. I want to talk to you a little bit about that feng shui. That threw me for a loop when I started, looking into, because I was like, this is really fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I want to get to that in a second. Actually, no time like the present. I found on your website, which I thought was adorable, Donna, you have this, it's a list of 28 things, donnastellhorn.com, by the way, and I'll mention that again toward the end, you guys. Her website is donnastellhorn.com.
Mm.
You have this list beautifully, just wonderful, that you said, listen, in no particular order, here's like 28 things that you might want to know about me. I was like, what? So in terms of, one of the quotes that you gave, or that I got from your list, that just really stuck me, it said, I'm absolutely convinced that the best way to a happy and prosperous life is through self-knowledge. That is what we're doing, right?
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
that path that we're
Yes.
all on. Astrology provides the most detailed and direct way to know yourself, your talents, your struggles, and what's ahead. Feng Shui tells us what's going on inside you by what you've placed in your personal space. And by shifting what's around you, you can bring in new opportunities. What I found fascinating about that, Donna, and I'd love to hear your perspective, is for many of us, when we talk about astrology, especially our natal chart, we
Mhm.
get the impression sometimes that it is a solid blueprint for where we are
Um,
destined. There's that whole question of free will versus destiny that
right.
sometimes comes up when
Yes.
someone wants their natal chart. They're looking at it as this, oh, so this is what I was born with, and so this is what my life is going to be about. The
Right.
idea that you contrasted that with feng shui, and
Mhm.
that place, the way things are placed, says something about our inside, what's going on with us, and that
Yes.
we shift that to shift the trajectory.
Yes. Yes.
Please talk to us about that dynamic.
Yes. So yes, the question about destiny versus free will, that's something that comes up quite a bit. So, and there are some systems of astrology that are more what I call fatalistic, that says, this is, on Tuesday, you're going to get married. On Wednesday, you're going to get hit by a bus, and nothing you can do about that. So, but in modern astrology, what we find is that actually everything's on a spectrum. And so, and that spectrum is, the soul can be just learning how to do things and just, basic survival and how to be seen in the world and how to get ahead, to a more spiritual place where there's an understanding of cause and effect and, karmic, ties and things like that. And so we don't know where you're on the spectrum, but you can move on the spectrum. Now, that doesn't mean that the Gemini suddenly becomes a Scorpio. You still stay on the Gemini perspective, So then sometimes, though, when we're looking within, it's super hard to tell what's going on. So we then look outward into what we have in our house, how things are laid out, what is the thing that we really are cherishing, and we can start to see symbols and signs of what may be going on inside. So to give you an example, like someone would call me and say, I don't know where I'm heading with my life. And I'd walk in and see this poster of like a rope bridge, and there's fog. And so you can't even see the other side. And I say, wow, your future is really scary, or
You
someone
can't see where you're going.
yeah, someone called me in and said, oh, my relationship's dead. And I went in and they had one of those New Mexico cow skulls hanging over the bed. And I said, yes, you're correct. Your relationship, there's a dead cow in your bedroom. So this is where we can take a look with fresh eyes at our houses and say, what is it that we are pulling into our personal space and then that is the symbol of what we need to change inside. Does that make sense?
It makes, you always do. This is what I'm saying. I mean, it can be the most complex, how's it gonna make sense? And you're just a born teacher. You really are. You really are. That makes total sense. Now, I do have a follow-up question though with that, with the cow thing over the bed. Like I was like, why would you do that? But then on the other hand, I'm thinking, but clearly that was something very important and symbolic to them in terms of how we have our belongings and what they reflect around us. Do you then suggest that it's not about getting rid of the cow head, it's just about don't put it over your bed? Is this a relationship that needs to go through some sort of death and transformation? So is that why? Because, in that area, putting the cow skull in the house is pretty common. Right. But oftentimes it's in the living room, it's in the family room and things like that. And so maybe then it's saying, well, we have to transform the family. Maybe the family is having a problem. Or, right. If it's right by the door, it's like, beware, Right. So we have to combine it with, when we place something to say, why did I put that there? Is that saying something to me? Yeah. Yeah. So we have to ask that question and not automatically say all cow skulls are banned. Yeah. Right. Because that would be a problem, especially people who feel strongly about either that or other objects that could be, Correct. Yes. One man that I saw, he says, I have no time for my family. And when I went into his office, it was decorated on all four walls with pictures of fighter jets. And so I said, yeah, you're moving it at, Mach 5 or whatever, speed of sound. And so I think, if we could even just get one wall where there's pictures of the family, that's going to shift your priorities. Right. So we didn't have to give up all of the fighter jets. Yeah. Just one wall. Donna, have you found that it's kind of mind-blowing that we do these things subconsciously? Like we don't even recognize the energy patterns that we may be setting up around ourselves? I think it even goes further than that, where someone comes to me, like the guy that comes to me and says, I'm having so much trouble with, there's just so much gunk in my life. And I just feel like I'm so stuck, I just can't get rid of the things that are clogging my life. And I said, oh, what do? I'm a plumber. I'm like, yes. So you're working on this. This is your life purpose to work on this. And so, for me, like I'm an astrologer, and astrology is about two things: is introspection and also about what the future is.
And so I'm one of those few astrologers who do predict. And it is basically so that I can learn how to make better decisions. And so I'm on this lifetime journey about making better decisions by helping everybody else that I meet make better decisions.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And one more thing around astrology and the way that you do it. Please distinguish for us, actually two more things. Distinguish between Chinese astrology and Western astrology. Basically what I know, and I guess many novices, is that there's the 12 wheels. There are animals that represent, we hear a lot about it. Like I personally got excited about hearing this was a year of the rabbit. I didn't quite understand everything that meant, but from what I saw, your videos included, it was like, this could be good. You know, this could be good for us, prosperous, fertility, and all of our blah, blah, blah. But how do we, for those of us who are learning astrology, how can we use those things complementary in a complementary fashion? And are they so terribly distinct from one another?
Well, they are two systems that emerged independently, which is interesting, but the more modern parts of it do blend. And so the interesting thing, well, first of all, I should say Chinese astrology is just as complex as Western astrology. I mean, it goes very deep. What we know of Chinese astrology is kind of a sun sign version of it. So, but the interesting thing is that Chinese astrology, because it's on a different cycles, it gives us a theme for the year. And this is water rabbit, you know, and so as you said, it's like home and family and all of that. And so, and we see, you know, there's a lot of talk about fertility, both from the perspective of, you know, maybe population collapse in some countries. Also, of course, the, you know, Dobbs decision, the Roe versus Wade, all of that, you know, and then there's home is very important this year, and that, you know, like mortgage interest rates, but also homelessness. So we're seeing all of that energy, and that's the theme for the year. Next year is going to be wood dragon. So, and that's going to be big, innovative energy, huge. So the one thing about Chinese astrology that's so interesting is this theme. Now, in Western astrology, of course, we have the theme right now of Saturn's gone into Pisces. And so that is kind of how what we think is the authority kind of dissolves away. And then we have Pluto gone into Aquarius. Aquarius is about innovation and now AI. And who knows, is the Terminator coming, or, you know, whatever.
Right.
So they're just more bits of information for us to say, okay, here's a little piece here, here's a little piece here, and to help us maneuver through the world.
Exactly. Which it all ties into that integration that we've been talking about, which for me is just such a hallmark of your work. And I love, you know, instead of feeling overwhelmed by that, I love the fact that you invite us to do it, you know, bit by bit, understand those differences, but also how they can work together for us. So I love that. Last thing on now Western astrology. In my readings, again, I'm nowhere near being an astrologer. Hopes, you know, goals, but and when I'm doing readings for people, especially as it pertains to their life purpose, and, you know, we get a lot of those readings, the one thing that I do hone in on, and I wanted to get your opinion about the importance of this, are the North and South nodes in the natal chart, because I think that that's helpful for everyone to get some sort of understanding of what they've been born in this lifetime with, some propensities towards a certain thing or behaviors. And that North Node, and, you know, sort of those lessons that we're learning, and those things that don't come naturally to us that we're you know, grab. Would you, you know, when you're doing charts for people, do you think that that is like a major component of, you know, if you don't understand much else about the houses, like get this part? Or
it's a major component, yes. So it's the two are connected. So it's one long energy, the South node being where you've come from and the North node being where you're going. And so they're always exact opposite points. And so if we go do our North node, which is harder, then we become happy because then we achieve. And if we if we're scared or, uncertain, we'll go towards the south node, which is what's familiar, but it's not as happy. Now,
Yeah.
I say this, and this is from a very Western perspective. In Indian astrology, Vedic astrology, because the overall cultural philosophy is, don't be attached to the outcome, but look at dealing with karma from the past, the south node is considered to be more important. And so there's a shift there. So in the West, of course, it's all build and grow and all of that. And so sometimes a person, their inner compass says, I'm more attracted to Indian astrology, and therefore they are on that path, whether that's the cultural connection or not. There's something that says, I'm drawn to that, versus the Western side, which I do, which is like, go for the North Node.
Right. That's what we all do, because we're always,
Mhm.
let's get to the next place. Let's build, let's grow, let's develop. One thing that I learned about you, and I want to congratulate you, I want to tell you, as someone who has struggled with weight, how inspirational this was for me. I understand that one of your courses, your video courses, is
Yeah.
Feng Shui for weight loss. And
Yes.
you mentioned on your website that you lost 45 pounds after carrying that extra weight for a very long time. I am not where I want to be, but I too have lost a substantial amount of weight. I
Wow,
didn't do
that's
it the correct
great.
way, or if I did, I didn't know I was doing it the correct way. But I get it, I get. But
Mhm.
one of the things that you said, and it's really stuck with me. It said, you said, I love public speaking and teaching. Clearly, you're amazing at it. You said you had severe stage fright through college, but one day it shifted and you were no longer afraid of being on stage. And you said, that's how it works in my life. I'll be stuck for a long time while my brain is working on a problem in the background. And then one day it just clicks over and that problem is solved.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if you talk to us a little bit about your personal process, Donna, just in terms of, clearly you are like a friggin' wizard in many respects, like
Thank you.
extremely intelligent, able to process a lot of information, able to translate
Mhm.
those concepts, which is not easy to do.
Mhm.
But you are also, while you're doing all of this for the rest of us, clearly you are on a very personal journey of your own and figuring things out. What
Yeah.
keeps you motivated? What gets you, what is your process? How do you continue to learn more and observe and get more information, and then in so doing, become the best version of yourself and who you want to be in this lifetime?
Well, I do think that one of the most important things is that as we challenge the thoughts that we have in our head, all right, I like to ask two questions. And one, is it true? And it may be true. Like I might be failing. I might be just doing this wrong. But or maybe I'm not. Oftentimes people say, I think it's true, but they don't really have evidence of that, you know. And then the other question is it helpful? Because sometimes even the thing that, we say, oh, I'm not good at this, I'm really struggling, but it's not helpful to be thinking that. And so therefore we should move on from that and at least think helpful thoughts.
Yeah.
So there's a guy on YouTube, like that's all our connections these days.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's an artist, and he said a familiar phrase, but I finally got it. I finally understood what he meant. And he said, trust the process. So, I write a lot. And each month, because I'm writing these columns for these different websites and all of that. So, and I was struggling with the procrastination because the first draft's always terrible, and I'm writing it and I'm going, whoa, this is terrible. I'm going to have to toss this whole thing. And so it was making it hard to get through that beginning. And he said, trust the process, which was when he explained it, he said, look, the first draft's going to be terrible. That's not what you're presenting. And so now, as I'm writing my terrible first draft, and that's what I do, I say, I am going to write a terrible first draft because I know I'm going to get to edit it. I'm going to get to go over it. So, and that's what helps the process, is to just acknowledge it's going to be terrible at the beginning. Anything that we do, we're not good at it. We're going to make mistakes. And we have to say, we trust the process.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And it sort of leads beautifully to and naturally to the next question I had for you, which is part of, I shared for you before we started recording, part of what made me want to do this series is, yes, for any and everyone, I want to be able to come and get some value from it, but also as a content creator myself, trying to grow, trying to learn the ropes, and sometimes failing miserably, like just what is this? And recognizing there's going to be some do-overs, there's going to be that learning curve. But I wanted to know, especially with Pluto and Aquarius, which you mentioned earlier, but I've heard and I've read so much around, especially social media and content creation. And even for those who consume social media, so this impacts everyone. Just your thoughts about some ways that we need to be prepared to adapt and to not necessarily prepare for any failure or catastrophe. I hope not, but just understanding that change is upon us. And just to get your perspective on how not just Pluto and Aquarius, but in general, how some of these shifts and changes and what you've learned as a content creator about how to succeed and grow in an era where things are constantly changing, in terms of technology, in terms of what people are drawn to and all of that. What can you share with us in terms of what you've learned and what we should be alert to?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts. So first of all, it's yes, the world's going to be changing. And we are so adaptable. I mean, over the last 3 years, we've been through the most mind-boggling thing ever. Did anybody ever say, like, what if we shut down everything? And so look how much we've changed just over the last 3 years. So we can certainly handle the change that's coming. So I think that, I was, again, watching some guy on YouTube, and they say that the first 1,000 subs are the absolute hardest. And for me, I think it took like 7 years. So, yeah, it really did. You have to go to every single person, say, please subscribe, just to,
I'm learning.
Yeah, but it is to continue to show up. If this is something you believe in, and I do think, pick a platform that you like and, focus on that. If you have time, then post on the other ones, but, just keep showing up is what's important.
Yeah.
So and I had another thought, but it's gone at the moment. It'll be back.
It'll come back when it's, but it also, I see a correlation almost between that and when we were talking about even the disciplines that we're learning. So when we were talking about tarot, astrology, these other it's like, do this, do this, do this, do this. There will be certain things that you're drawn to or that come naturally and easier to you.
Yes.
They all fit together. And I hear sort of that correlation in terms of, as we go to these different platforms, whether we are consuming or whether we are content creators, we're still finding, do we like the quick hit and miss, or not miss, but the quick in and out of a TikTok or an Instagram, or do we want to sit down and spend that 30, 40, 45 minutes with a longer format? If we have, where does it, and maybe we want to do a little bit of both,
True. Yes. Yes, that does remind me of what it was. So when you're tackling something huge, like if I said, I'm going to learn French, and then you see me reading the French dictionary, that's a very long way to do it. So versus if I said, well, how do I ask how to order a cup of coffee in French? Like I have a very specific thing I'm trying to do. So it's true for astrology, which is a big subject. It's true for, learning to edit videos, big subject, is figure out the one question that you're trying to answer at this moment. And then focus in on that. And then you've got that piece, and then you've learned something and it doesn't feel like a jumble anymore. Yeah. So Does that make sense?
It always makes sense.
I'm sorry, I keep saying that.
Makes sense. I'm telling you, like, no joke. I watch a lot of astrologers, but sometimes, especially when we get, like when eclipse season was about to hit, Donna, I'm not trying to boost you up. I honestly, like, I'll go because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go where I know, like, she's gonna break this down for me in a way that it's going to make, and it just, you never let me down. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got, to wrap up. I do this with tarot readers, and I tweaked it a little bit in terms of astrology. I always ask a what if questions, just sort of lighthearted.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so let's go. So if these two powerhouses were duking it out, meaning Jupiter, who wants to always expand, and Saturn, who can, constrict. Okay, so if Jupiter was like, I've had enough of your crap, Saturn, I'm gonna, you need to get your act together and begin to see things my way. They're really going at it. All right. And some other planets got to step in between these two powerhouses and find the peace, like get them to get back on track. We got work to do here. Now, Mercury has laryngitis. Okay, because that's just too easy. So Mercury has laryngitis and just can't speak a word, just can't get in it. Venus loves everybody, just wants fellas, get along. Why don't you, it's all. So if we had to take Mercury and Venus out of the equation, who could get in between Jupiter and Saturn and get them to get back on track?
Well, Mars, of course, because Mars is actually your decider about everything. So Mars is your decision point. And everything else is you're considering it. So with Mercury, you're processing it. With Venus, do I like it? Do I not like it? So everybody else is weighing in. The sun says, this is me, it embodies me. And the moon says, oh, I don't know, I really need such and such. So when it is time to take an action, it's Mars. Mars makes us get up and do something, and that is then the decision. So if the decision is to expand, Mars goes with Jupiter. If the decision is to let's build the foundation slowly and carefully, then Mars goes with Saturn. So it's Mars.
I like that. That makes total sense. And it also made me think of the Emperor. That Aries, but ruled by Mars, right? That just someone to say, okay, you know what, let's get it together. We got work to do, and let's make some decisions. But that also, I hear you saying that just in terms also of us learning our charts and the way that we perhaps in the house where Mars is, that might be an indicator for us as well in terms of our own decision.
With Mars, we could attach it to several different cards because it could also be the Chariot, which says we're all ready to go. But maybe the Chariot feels too still because we got the Sphinxes going in different directions in the traditional deck. Or maybe it's the Wheel of Fortune. We don't know how this is going to go, but let's spin the wheel and see. Yes. So, or maybe Mars is just the magician who says, I've got everything here. I got to pick something to do.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. Something's going to work. I got enough here in front of me. Something's got to work, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Donna, you have been, I knew this. I knew that I was just going to totally enjoy connecting with you. And for all of you who see this, I know that you've learned something. Please, if you do not already, please go to Donna Stellhorn Astrology, like, subscribe, hit that notification. She will always give you the real. Her format is she will give you the overview of what's happening astrologically, but then she also gives you the added bonus of she will go sign by sign by sign as well. With love, health, like everything you need to know, you will find it there. Her website again is donnastellhorn.com. YouTube, she's Donna Stellhorn Astrology. What are you on Instagram? I know that you're.
I think it's just Donna Stellhorn. Everywhere, I think it's just Donna Stellhorn.
We talked about, I wanted to ask about your new books, release dates for the new book.
Yeah, don't know because this is a new publisher, so we'll see what they do.
Okay. So, and I didn't mention it before, but you are a regular columnist or writer for, is it astrology.com?
And horoscope.com. So I write the weekly and month. So I write the weekly Western and the weekly Chinese predictions on astrology.com. I write several monthly columns on horoscope.com, and I write their annual Chinese astrology reports. So if you guys purchase those were me.
Amazing.
So,
Go. And classes. If someone wants to take your classes, they are all available through your website?
yes, and more classes are coming out soon. An expanded version of Finding the Hidden Money will be coming out, and some more interesting astrology classes, like this idea of, how do we find an easier way to make decisions? How do we know ourselves better? So answering some important questions. So I'm excited about those, trying to find the time to finish them.
And are most of your classes pre-recorded, Donna, or will you be doing some live, like virtual Zoom sort of
Yeah,
stuff?
I haven't done much on that since the pandemic. I do lectures with different astrology groups, and those are available out there in the world. But yes, it's on my list of things to do, to
All right.
start classes up again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Listen, I know that I'm excited for all of your offerings. And again, for all of you, if you check out her courses, certainly follow her channel. It is, you will learn so much. And truly, you have made a big difference in my life and my practice, Donna. So
Thank you. Thank you. And you are such the great journalist. I know you have a history in that, and you're such a good interviewer. Yes.
So
Have your own show for sure.
I'm working towards it. As we said, step by step by step, right?
Step. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
you and LaRue. I'm sorry we didn't get to see LaRue today.
Yeah, he's a typical cat. So until he's hungry, he's asleep.
He's asleep. He's off doing his own thing.
Yeah.
But thank you again, and I will be seeing you online.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.